Hey friends, happy full moon. We are almost there. Welcome. I'm going to take just a few minutes to let everybody find me. I'm so glad you're all here. If you're joining me on Facebook or you're joining me on YouTube, go ahead and just leave a little comment. Let me know that you're here. I don't necessarily see them in real time, but I will respond as I have a moment, probably when practice is over. I'll let y'all know that I saw that you were here. I'm so glad you're joining me for tonight's practice. This is a full moon in Pisces. This is a blue moon. Once in a blue moon do we get to practice twice in 1 month. And we are just barely getting in under the radar here. So our first full moon of the month was August 1st. And this is August 30th, obviously. And so we are in now the full moon in Pisces. Tonight's practice is going to be yin. If you want to know more about what's going on with the energies of this full moon, hop onto my YouTube channel, hop onto the Awakened Yoga Collective. There's a video I did yesterday that is all about what to expect in this moon, what you might be feeling, what might be happening in your world. And I don't want to take too much time talking about that tonight because I want us to get onto our mats, but I'm going to just take a minute, letting everyone come find me, kind of gathering all of my yogis together. Make sure, since this is a yin practice, make sure you have lots of props. You can kind of see back here, I have blankets, I have blocks, I have a bean bag. You can't really tell what that is. I have a strap. I have an eye pillow. And so if we're at home, which we're all at home, we don't have a lot of the props necessarily. Blankets, towels, cushions, pillows, big comforters might be nice today. Big pillows, if you have bean bags, things like that. If you have blocks, books, water bottles work well for books, for blocks as well. So go ahead and gather your things, straps, belts, neckties. Those work really well for straps if you don't have a strap. So yeah, go ahead and gather your props, gather your things. Hello, hello. I'm so glad everyone is here. Welcome to that full moon in Pisces. Tonight, as we settle in, if you have bolsters, go ahead and get those. I don't have one. We will be doing a yin practice, and I will explain a little bit more about this as we get settled. Once you gather your props, we're going to move to our mat and begin actually in frog pose. And so in yin, we find a posture and we do it cold. We don't warm up our body per se in a specific way like we normally do for traditional yoga. We just move gently into the poses because it impacts our body differently. It moves into our body differently. So half frog is, I'm going to grab a blanket, maybe if you have a pillow or something, and we'll start on our bellies. And I'm on my side because one leg is going to come up, knee in line with the hip, ankle in line with the knee. Now, I don't want to put the blanket under my knee. I actually want to put it up underneath my thigh. I'm going to roll it up a little bit because sometimes laying flat like this is too intense. So I'm supporting my pelvis. If you feel comfortable, you can just bring the leg all the way to the ground. Foot is in line, heel is in line with the knee. And we will begin on our forearms for just a minute. And I want us to take this other leg, and it doesn't really matter which leg we begin with because we're going both sides. So this other leg, we're going to lift and extend back. So I lifted my knee and I shifted my hips behind me. So you decide what leg bends and what leg is straight. Check and make sure that foot is in line with the hip. And then come to the forearms. Tuck the chin gazes between our thumbs. And just find the breath. Draw the belly up and in. Take a moment. So tonight's moon is emotional. It's emotions. it's reactions, it's intuition, it's creativity, it's expression. And so Pisces is a water sign, so we are deep in fluidity, expression, reaction, emotions. And so this practice is going to get deep into the hips today. That's our home of our emotions. As we're ready, gently come down to our forearms or to our hands, make a pillow with our head. And to go a little bit deeper, we turn our gaze away from the bent knee. I'm going to set a timer here so we don't get lost in our hips already. Find the breath. So in yin yoga, we have 3 tattvas or principles that we practice with, that we follow as we practice yin yoga. First one is simply coming into the pose at an appropriate depth. And that is where we need those props, right? It is not at the edge, because in yin, we hold these postures a little bit longer than we do in traditional yoga. And so if we're at our edge, our body is fighting that stretch. We want to be in a place where our body can soften into the depth of this posture. That's that first tattva. We come into the pose at an appropriate depth. The second tattva or principle is that we resolve to remain still. And I won't lie, this is the most challenging one for me because I'm a wiggler and my monkey mind kicks into overdrive with this still practice. But I make a commitment to be still. That allows our body time to form a relationship with each posture. And then the third tattva, the third principle, is holding the pose for a set amount of time. And that's where I come in. That's why I started a timer. You don't have to worry about that one. I will guide us through this. So find the breath. Feel the body. With this moon, we are confronted with emotions, with relationships in particular. We can tend to be reactive and maybe carry guilt and responsibility for things that are not ours. And that leads to big emotions. And so tonight's practice is giving us an opportunity to just simply sit with ourselves, to be still and notice our emotions. The breath is the gateway. It's also the release. Exhales, release the tension, release that which we no longer need. The inhales take us deeper into the body, into awareness. Eyes can be closed. Our gaze can be soft. Good. Very gently straighten the leg that is bent. Take the props out from underneath us. Turn the head to neutral. Bend the knees and just rock the feet from side to side. As we're ready, we'll take the legs long again. And now we'll go the other way. So come back up onto our forearms. And the other leg is going to come out to the side. So the knee is in line with the hip. The ankle is in line with the knee again. Tuck a blanket underneath the hips and the upper thigh to give it a little bit of support. And then lift the back leg, extend it long, and release it down. Lift the heart, lengthen the spine. Take a breath or so here. Gaze is on the earth. The eyes can be closed. Notice the difference between both sides. As we sink deep into the hips already, just notice what arises. What are your thoughts? What are your emotions? What is in your realm of awareness? Maybe a couple of exhales through the mouth would be good. Just letting it go. And as we're ready, we'll make our way to our bellies. So let the head release to our hands. And again, the head turn away from the knee to deepen. If that doesn't feel good, don't do it. This is a place where I always kind of slide my knee further out just to get a deeper stretch through the front of the hip. Return to our breath. And start to lengthen that breath out. So give ourselves more time with our inhales and exhales. Finding that appropriate depth for our body. And one side is different than the other, so honor that. Don't expect to do the same thing on both sides. Commit to remaining still. Resolve to remain still. How does your monkey mind rev up here? See if we can just let it release. Let it spin in the background. We don't need to pay attention to it right now. Feel the body. Let the emotions roll through us and then release. This is a good month for this phrase, the only way out is through. Time to not press those emotions back down anymore. It's time to feel the big feels, to express the big expressions, and to let it out of our body. We are in the midst of a deep transformation and integration. Now is the time to let it happen. In this stillness, where does your awareness go? Gently straighten the leg. Excuse me, bring the head to neutral bend, the knees rock the feet from side to side. Release the legs, bring the hands underneath the shoulders, and let's come up to hands and knees for a moment. Take a few cat and cows just to release that lower back nice and slow. Inhaling to drop the belly, tailbone and heart roll open. Exhaling to arch the back, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone. I invite you to move slow and steady here. It's not a race. Really explore every aspect of this movement. And then we come back to our neutral spine. So from here, I invite you to extend one leg back. It doesn't matter which. Again, it's your call which direction you go first. One leg extends back, toes to the mat. And as we exhale, that knee bends, but instead of coming to the inside of the other leg, it's coming to the outside. So we are crossing our legs. Let me show you that again. My leg extends, and then I bend my knee to the outside of my other leg. Good. From here, we just start to rock ourselves back. So my front knee will actually lift off the mat as I bring my hips towards my heel. Melt over your legs and fold into your own lap. Hands can come together, palms can be on the ground, forearms can be on the ground. If this is too compressive, I invite you to come to a seated position with one leg crossed on top of the other. So it's not a figure four. The knees are stacking, the foot is off to the side, and we fold forward there. So you have two options. Seated with the leg straight, other leg crossed on top. Or we're back to this folded, crisscrossed child's pose, like I like to call it. No matter where we are, release the head, shake out the neck, release the shoulders. Breathe here. This is intense. This is compressive. Resolve to remain still. Gently come back up to all fours or uncross the legs. Straighten the leg and then shake it out for a minute. Move around. If you're seated, go ahead and shake the legs out, bend the knees, whatever feels good. And then we'll come back to either all fours or straight legs. I'll show you that again in a minute. For on all fours, let's take the other leg back. Exhale, bend the knee, taking it to the outside of the opposite leg. Exhale, walk ourselves back. Remember that front knee will lift as we settle back on our heels and melt into our own lap. Finding any supports we need. And again, if that is too compressive or it's not comfortable for you, we'll sit down with our legs straight and cross the opposite leg on top of the other. Inner thighs connect. And then we'll fold forward. You pick your version here. I think I did the other leg. Yep. Find the breath again. Notice the emotions that arise. Honor them, let them flow. Yin is a deceptively challenging practice. It is not an easy practice. Honor your experience. That's the whole point of this. Our experience, our emotions are big. Our experiences are challenging. Our interactions are fiery. And so this practice gives us the opportunity to move through those similar experiences and come out the other side, gaining tools, gaining knowledge, finding grounding and support, and just reminding our monkey mind that this is not the only way. It won't always be this way. What subtle releases can you find in these places? Good, and then gently come forward if you're on all fours. Straighten the leg, shake it out, move it around. If you're seated, just straighten both legs, shake them out. We will all meet seated with our legs in a straddle. So it doesn't have to be the biggest straddle ever. Remembering that we find a depth that is appropriate. We don't want to walk that edge. I invite you to take blankets under your hips, blankets under the knees, whatever else feels good. Hands come in front of us. Draw the belly up and in. Feet are flexed. And as we exhale, we fold forward. So as we fold forward, I invite you to keep the spine nice and long, shoulders out of the ears. It's really easy to kind of curl in. We want a long spine, a hinge at the hips. Knowing that we are going into this cold, being gentle with yourself. That's another aspect of this practice tonight. Finding grace, being gentle in whatever situation we are put in. Find the appropriate depth. The beauty of that is that when we find an appropriate depth, we can achieve more space over time. Our body releases deeper into these stretches. If we're pushing to the edge, our body is constantly fighting, and it never gives us that relief that we are looking for. Yin is also different than restorative. Restorative is passive. Restorative practices are supportive, they're nourishing, they are passive, they are gentle and soft. Yin is supportive, but it is active. We are engaging our muscles still. We are holding ourselves in positions of stretch, of activation. They sometimes get confused, yin and restorative practices. They are very, very different. Taking any more release that feels good as it arrives, not expecting it, but just enjoying it if it starts to happen. I just put blocks under my forearms because I'm right in between of holding myself up and coming all the way down. Notice when we disengage, when our body releases and softens and relaxes. See if we can find that support of engagement again, mostly through the legs and through the abdominals here. Final minute in this posture. Notice the emotions, notice the thoughts. Be still with them. Let them express and flow. Gently walk ourselves back up. Feel the body. Hands come underneath our knees, and we bring the soles of our feet together. Let our knees open wide. moving into butterfly Baddha Konasana. And again, these blocks or blankets or pillows or whatever you have at home can support the knees. Sitting nice and tall. Pause right here for a breath. In yin, remember, we are not finding that edge. In a traditional practice, you may not use blocks. You may hinge really far forward, but we're not going to stay there in a traditional practice. We can go a little deeper. In yin, I want us to find that place where we can be still for an extended amount of time. This is the challenge. Good. Before we fold forward, we will take twists. So as we exhale, we'll twist to the right. Keep the heart lifted. Make sure we don't lean back or lean to the side. We want the spine to be tall and straight as we revolve in the twist. Gaze looks over that right shoulder. Let the breath lengthen here in this place. Gently come back to center. Pause for a moment. Feel the shift in the body as we come back to neutral. And now we get to twist the opposite direction. Lift the heart, shoulders out of the ears. Make sure that the legs aren't working the twist. Let them be supported and not soft, but open. There's an external rotation in that hip. Again, check in to make sure we're not leaning one way or the other, that our shoulders stay out of the ears and our gaze looks over that left shoulder. Gently come back to center. Even everything out. Hold on to the ankles, not the toes. Lift the heart. Draw the belly up and in. And as we exhale, we fold forward. For me, I like to take my blocks out of the way here because my knees want to go deeper. Maybe those blocks come in front of us. Maybe we have other props. Maybe there's a chair in front of us. Maybe we keep the blocks under our knees. You decide how this feels to you. Long spine, gaze is on the earth. Find stillness. This is one of those poses that I really want to move my body side to side. My toes want to wiggle. I am resolving to remain still. And I won't lie, I get grumpy because I want to move my body. There's that emotion rising. That's why I chose yin. Is this one really stokes the fires of my emotion. And so I'm just going to roll with it. I'm just going to let it happen and experience whatever arises, however I feel, knowing that it won't always be this way. One more minute. Where is your breath? Where is your awareness? Inhale, slowly rise back up. Ooh. Let's lean back. Bring our feet to the mat, knees nice and wide. Feel that in the hips, right? Rock the knees side to side. Really focusing on that inward rotation. That's our counter pose for where we just were. Good. As our legs fall to one side, it doesn't matter which, pause. Come back up on the hips. And then we exhale, twisting around behind us. So whatever direction the legs fell, you're going to twist that same way. Maybe blocks come under hands. Lift the heart behind you. We want to keep the revolution going towards the ceiling behind us. Couple of breaths. If you need to support the hip with a blanket or a block, anything that feels good, make sure you find those adjustments. Mm-hmm. Gently release, unwind, coming back to center for a moment. Rock those knees again. I just had a big release in my hips. My pelvis, the sacrum. Whew, that feels good. And now we get to go the other way. So whatever way the legs fell last time, we go the other way. Sit nice and tall to begin with. Take a moment. And as we exhale, we twist behind us. Again, we move in the same direction that the knees have fallen or are pointing. Lift the heart, drop the shoulders, unclench the jaw. Find support under the hip, find support under the hands. And let the breath move us deeper into this. I find that if I lift my belly, I can twist deeper. When I engage my abdominals a little bit more, it takes me deeper into that twist. It's kind of fun to play with. Where do you feel this stretch? Where do you feel this engagement? What is your body telling you right now? And then gently unwind, coming back to center. One last time, rock those knees side to side. Wee. Good. Keep the legs nice and wide, knees bent. Hands come underneath the thighs. I like to lift my toes as I do this, but you can have your feet relaxed, whatever feels good. We'll move briefly into some seated cat and cow. So as we inhale, rock forward, lift the heart, lift the gaze. Exhale, rock back, scoop the belly, tuck the chin. Find your rhythm of the breath. Follow your own breath. Adding anything to this that feels good, anything else you'd like to add. One or two more right here. Good, and then gently release and come back to neutral. So this may be a place where you grab a bolster or a bunch of pillows. Maybe you fold up that giant comforter if you have one. Maybe you use a cushion from the couch. Or I'm going to use a couple of blankets. I'm actually going to use a block if you have that. I'm going to show you, we're going to move into yogic squat, and I'm going to show you a couple of options. You will want to be supported in this yogic squat, okay? So I can hold yogic squat, I can find yogic squat, and it's fine. But again, I want us to have a little bit of support so we can have activation without finding that edge, I guess is the way I will say it. The other option is to move to a wall. And this one's a little bit awkward, but it looks kind of like this. If I come here, you'll be able to see it. So I scoot down into yogic squat and I lean against the wall. I absolutely love this to release the pelvis. It's a little bit awkward to get into. It takes a little bit of trust, but my hips are heavy and my upper back and my shoulders are pressing into the wall. My arms and legs are pressing in together. My hands are pressing in together. You might have to come into it a couple different times to make sure the feet are in the right place. But this is a great option as well. So you pick your version of yogic squat. Let's find that now. Let's start my timer. Maybe our eyes close or our gaze softens. Pull the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Pelvic floor is engaged to help support the base of the spine. And the activation, no matter where we are, is legs and arms pressing in together, as well as the lift of the pelvic floor. Tuck the chin ever so slightly. Keep the heart lifted. We have one more minute. Resolve to remain still. Checking in to make sure that we are at the appropriate depth now that we are a minute in and a minute left. Find the breath. Gently release wherever we are. Make our way to seated. Legs come out in front of us. Shake them out, move them around for a minute. Maybe take a little fold or a little twist, whatever feels good. Lovely. We'll move back onto our belly again. Moving into Sphinx pose. In Yin, we call it seal pose. I love how they're the same pose, but different names. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, or lift the knees, walk the legs away a little bit, and then drop the knees back down. Coming to those forearms, elbows are underneath our shoulders, palms are flat on the ground. Options to slide some blankets underneath our rib cage to give ourselves some support. Pillows work as well if we don't have blankets or we don't want to use blankets. Pillows are a little bit cushier. Pubic bone is pressing into the earth. Belly button is lifting away from the earth. Shoulders are spreading, chin is tucked. And we're breathing right here. Options to rest when you need to. This one is intense. It, again, is deceptively challenging. Think about keeping the lower back nice and long. Stimulating the root and sacral chakras here. That foundation, safe, security, and desire, wants. With this full moon being in Pisces, a water sign, we are deep in the pelvis. Those emotions, the feels, the fluidity, the expression, the bowl of the pelvis holds all of that. Ten more seconds, lift a little deeper, lift a little higher. And then gently release, make a pillow with your hands. Turn your head one way, bend those knees, rock the feet side to side. Turn your head the other way. Good, and let's make our way to hands and knees for just a moment. Let's come back to cat and cow. Inhaling to drop the belly, tail, and heart roll open. Exhaling to arch the back, tuck the chin, tuck the tailbone. Feel the difference in this cat and cow compared to the first cat and cow. Notice the space that we've created in the pelvis and the hips. Feel the movement that we've added in. Good, and then we'll move into a twist. And with this, you might want to grab a strap or a belt or something like that. I am actually, and you'll probably want a block or a blanket, I don't know. So there's a couple of different options. The leg that's on the bottom, that's gonna be where you want that strap around the ankle. The strap is gonna come behind you, okay? I know it's gonna take a minute. So if you notice, I bent my knee with the strap behind me. Okay, my strap is around my ankle, that knee is bent. My knee is in line with my hip. This top leg, which is just kind of hanging out, again, you decide which side you start with. It's your option tonight, is gonna come forward. So I have a blanket here. If you have a block, you can put that under the shin, under the foot, whatever feels good to you. Option to stay here on the forearm, grabbing that strap and drawing it back towards your hip. Now, some of you may be able to grab the ankle. Fantastic, do that, okay? The strap is there for when that foot is still really far away. If you remain on the forearm, lift the body. See how my side body is crunched? It's long now, right? Feet are flexed, foot is pulling in. Option one. Option two is to lay down, and this may be where you slide a blanket underneath your head for support. Reach for that strap, pull it back. Maybe you grab the ankle and let this top shoulder fall back. I shimmy my shoulders over a little bit. Maybe we put a blanket behind this back shoulder too. Here we are in this deep, deep, deep twist. So we have done a lot with our hips, with our emotions. We've stirred up a whole bunch of stuff. Twists are detoxing. So now we get to release it a little bit. And for me personally, I like to connect the other hand as well. So I complete my circuit. One hand is on my foot, the other hand is on my leg. Gaze can be up at the sky or to the behind us, I guess. So whatever shoulder's on top, that's the direction. That's the problem with letting you all pick. I don't have a right and a left. Slow, even breath here. Use the props. Take your time to get into this posture. Remember those tattvas of yin. We come to an appropriate depth. We choose to remain still. And then we are in this posture for a set amount of time. If we don't have enough support, if we are in too deep, we can't stay for as long as we would like. Boy, there's a life lesson right there, isn't it? Huh. Maybe we exhale through the mouth a couple of times. Let the shoulders grow heavy. Make sure the legs are engaged, the feet are flexed. Keep breathing. One more minute, we're almost there. What is in your realm of awareness in this moment? Where's our body giving us more space? Do we want to take advantage of that? You always have a choice. Gently release the ankle, bend both knees, come back to center. So we'll roll onto our backs for a minute. Woo, rock those knees side to side. That was a big one. Move the body however feels good to you. Maybe we find stillness and neutral for a moment. And then we'll move to the other side. So I'm going to do it facing the other way so you can see the back of my body. So the strap comes around the other ankle, whichever one that is for you. And I'm going to, which is the bottom one. So this top leg is still hanging out. The bottom one bends, the knee is in line with the hip. Good. From here, the top leg comes forward onto that blanket. So you can see how I can grab my foot or I can grab the strap. Feet flex. Option to stay here, but remember we're lifting the side bodies or settling down. My blanket's too low. Settling down onto the mat. Flex the feet. Connect the hands to the legs and then drop the top shoulder towards the earth. You decide what version of this you want. Maybe the blocks are under your feet, the blankets are under your feet. Maybe we have a strap around the ankle. Maybe there's blankets under this top shoulder too. And then we close the eyes or soften the gaze and sink into the sensation of this posture. Notice how each side is very different. I think that's a really great thing to pay attention to. We have these expectations all the time. Even when we try not to have expectations, we have expectations. And sometimes we get caught up in those expectations. That's what this full moon is about right now, how we can get caught up by these big emotions, drawn into these stories and these feelings, sometimes of guilt, of responsibility, of reaction. And if we just take a step back, we gain a little bit of perspective. Where does our body fight this pose? Can we provide more support? Where does our body melt into this pose? Do we want to take advantage of that space that we acquire? What is in your realm of awareness? Let the breath be long and steady. The second side always feels twice as long to me. That's why I use a timer, because my monkey mind will run away. Settle into the experience. Let it just happen. One more minute. What are you ready to release? Are you ready to invite in? How can you give yourself more grace around those dissonant situations? Gently release. Bringing everything back to neutral. That feels good, doesn't it? Go ahead and rock the knees side to side, move around however you need to. And we'll move into our final posture, Banana Asana. I love this one because I love saying it. So from here, our arms and legs go along on the mat, and we'll walk our feet over towards one corner of the mat. Again, you pick. So whatever direction you went, that foot stays on the ground. The other leg crosses on top of the ankle. Now, make sure that the hips don't pop up. We want the hips to be nice and still and heavy, both hips on the ground. Good. Head and shoulders move in the same direction. And that outside arm, where we have that flexion, we hold onto that wrist and pull just gently deeper. Shoulders stay on the ground, hips stay on the ground, and our gaze looks away from our hands and feet. Feel the breath move up the side body and through the front and outside of the hip. Feet are flexed, belly is engaged. Maybe again, we take some exhales through the mouth. That feels really good to me, to my body. And then we gently walk ourselves back to center. Head and shoulders move first. Feet move next. Take a minute just lying flat on the ground. Arms beside us, legs come wide. Feel the body, feel the lower back. And then we move to the other side. So feet walk to the other corner of the mat. And whatever direction we move, the opposite leg crosses on top. Check in with the hips, make sure they're even. And then head and shoulders move in that same direction. Arms reach overhead. We grab hold of that outside wrist and side bend. Good, shoulders stay on the ground. I have too many props around me. That's a good practice. Hips are heavy. Shoulders are heavy. Gaze looks away from the hands and feet. Breath is steady and long. Where can we stretch deeper into this posture? Where can our breath take us? Gently release, coming back to center. Head and shoulders move first, feet come next. And again, just let the arms come wide, let the feet come wide. Check in with the lower back and the neck. Take a minute just being still here, feeling the body. Noticing what's arisen, letting anything go that we're ready to release. And then we'll make our way to Shavasana. So for Shavasana, I invite you to put blankets and bolsters underneath your knees. I invite you to bring in that beanbag or pillows and place it on your chest. The eye pillows, if you have an eye pillow or another little, like an eye mask, you can place them over your eyes. If it would feel more comfortable to your nervous system to curl onto your side, hug some blankets in, let your body rest here. Find a place that feels good to you for your Shavasana, for our final rest, letting go of anything that still remains. Closing our eyes, softening our gaze, checking in with the lower back, make sure it feels supported. Checking in with our neck, make sure it feels long. Let's take a couple of breaths of exhales through our mouth. Let's inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, let it go. Again, inhale through the nose. Open the mouth, let it go. One more of those beauties. Inhaling. Let it go. Release. Release into bliss. Release into the flow of emotion, of creativity, of expression. Connect with intuition. Let your intuition blossom in these moments of stillness and rest.
I invite you to remain in Shavasana for as long as you would like. Enjoy this release and relaxing moment. Move through the energies of this full moon. Let it wash over you, bringing in transition, transformation, integration. Happy full moon. Satnam, my friends.